Joining me here, Jideofor Onuoha, an Abuja-based legal practitioner. Let's to shed more light as we look into the president's comments and the rule of law in contention with national security. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Danny.
Now, you watched the president's comment. That what, I mean, as a young lawyer, and you were at the conference when the speech was made, what really came to mind?
Well, I think the statement made by Mr. President, His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari, is a statement that could be viewed from two angles. Now, it depends really from the angle which you sit to view Mr. President's statement. That would determine your mindset. Mr. President clearly stated that in matters concerning national interest and national security, that individual rights must take the back burner as against the rule of law. Well, if you view that statement in line of the recent flout by the executive of judicial orders, then the statement in its entirety is very wrong. But if you view that statement in line of the protection of the rule of law, the protection of national security and public interest in line with the rule of law, because you cannot talk about national interest or national security without it being executed in line and in respect and accordance with the rule of law. Because without the rule of law, then I think that statement by Mr. President may be tilted towards the call of anarchy in Nigeria, and which Mr. President wouldn't want, because you cannot say suspend the right of an individual against the rule of law. It is something that runs afoul the tenets or the main reason why we as Nigerians have put before us a constitution that guides our operations, that guide the way we live our lives, that guide our everyday activities, that guide every action both the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary carries out.
Okay, now, but you heard some of the senior lawyers who gave their opinion. One, I mean, the outgoing president of the NBA, or the past president, immediate president, said that the NBA will look into it and issue a statement, really condemn it. But the next one who spoke after him, tried to, make some stance for the president. He said where there is a clash between individual rights and national security, the individual right will take a second, position. But Jideofor SAN, the third senior lawyer who spoke, he said that is totally wrong. Now, amidst senior lawyers, there's this sort of division. But one lawyer I spoke to earlier said that even in a case where there is a clash between individual rights and national interest, it is the court that still determines which is second to which.
Yes, Mr. Danny, I'd like to agree that in deciding whether the individual rights of someone should be suspended to uphold national security or public interest, the only arm of government that has that authority or power to decide is the judiciary, not the executive. So in that light, like I said, it depends on the view you are taking in viewing Mr. President's statement. Now, in that light, I think Mr. President, with all due respect, is entirely wrong to have made that statement. And I think it is the duty of the bar, the Nigerian Bar Association, to harmonize or try to explain to the public properly the implications, or would I say, try to straighten out the statement of Mr. President. Because if you check between yesterday and today, when Mr. President issued that statement, it has brewed so much controversy. And very unfortunately, it is coming at a time where the Nigerian Bar Association has just concluded its presidential elections, and a new executive body has been elected. I would like to say that it is incumbent upon the bar to draw some more clarity to the populace on Mr. President's statement. But I wouldn't like to think that Mr. President actually insinuated that the individual rights of a person should be shunned, and national interest should be upheld against the rule of law. That is just another way of putting what he just said.
But we have seen this play in different climes. We've seen the detention of Dasuki still remain, despite 6 court orders to grant him bail. We've seen the detention of Elzaki still remain, despite the fact that his detention has led to the disturbance in public peace.
While we're quite unfortunate that this present government has not really upheld the existence of the rule of law, and they have multiple times flouted judicial decisions. It's a very bad precedent, and unfortunately we have been made to deal or tag along with that so far. But I look forward to a more proactive bar. Like I said, there is a new executive of the bar. So I look forward to a more proactive bar, one that can stand against such breakdown in the supremacy of the Constitution. Because ordinarily, if this government has recognized the supremacy of the Constitution, the so-called flout of judicial orders wouldn't be so much abound as we have experienced in the last 3 years. So I look forward to a more active bar. I look forward to a bar that stands in favor and in support of the supremacy of the law. Let's not forget that where there is law, where ubi jus, ubi remedium, where there is society, where there is law, there must be remedy. So we cannot proclaim that maxim where we fold our arms and watch the executive government flout the orders of the judiciary. So we look forward to a more proactive bar, and we hope that the executive will stand up and make their mistakes right by obeying judicial orders.
But many have wondered why this particular executive would have a very senior and experienced lawyer, a son for that matter, as vice president, and also be at ease to flaunt court orders and individual rights.
Well, I may not be in a position to discuss the political strategy or policies of the APC-led government, and the roles played by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and as well the roles of the Attorney General of the Federation. These are the recent incidents as such have met us with so much shock, and I know that citizens have written in their private capacities to try to address this issue, written to the Professor Senior Advocate, who is the Vice President. But you see, administrative orders, there are different, there are ways they are applied. So it may be that it's not his prerogative to address such issues. And it's clearly the Attorney General of the Federation's portfolio to look into, as the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, to look into such administrative recklessness and try to save the face of the government, because it is clear to every Nigerian that this government has really flouted judicial orders. So I think it's the competency of the Attorney General to correct these anomalies.
Okay, now away from that, now let's look at the comment made by the acting chairman of the EFCC, Maguna, when he slammed his son for receiving 1.7 billion in legal fees. 1.7 billion. What exactly is in legal fees?
Well, Danny, you see, the legal fees of a legal practitioner determines, it depends on the services rendered. There is no law known to the best of my knowledge that regulates legal fees of a legal practitioner. And for crying out loud, if you look at international best practices, if you go outside Nigeria, if you go beyond the shores of Nigeria, lawyers earn a whole lot more than that. So if I'm a lawyer that handles a contract, for instance, and there is an agreement, a part of the agreement that decides that so amount of fees will be paid to me for reviewing that contract. It doesn't matter whether the contract was a $200 billion contract and I'm being paid $1 billion. It's a very, very, very insignificant sum as regards that contract. We're talking about a $200 billion contract, and I'm paid $1 billion just to make sure that the loose ends are taken care of. You know, whose business is it? Now, if Mr. Magu has any indictment against this legal practitioner, the so-called legal practitioner, I believe there are judicial procedures that he can exploit towards exerting judgment. And him being an enforcer of the law should explore such channels and not make such public comments.
But don't you think that the fact that a lawyer could receive 1.7 billion in legal fees, and in a country like Nigeria where we know the high rate of corruption and how the present government is fighting corruption tooth and nail, wouldn't this be like some sort of aid, as like a means to aid corruption or money laundering?
I entirely
because I could be a corrupt politician and I could tell you, okay, I'm sending you 5 billion as legal fees for a case I have in court, but you can keep 4 or 3 billion for me. I mean, it could foster money laundering.
I entirely disagree. You see, like I said, if there are paper trails, they are the investigators. The EFCC are the investigators. The police will investigate. Now, if there are paper trails that shows that probably the type of legal services I have rendered to you doesn't warrant such amount of money, then they should proceed to the court and prove to the court that I don't deserve such payment. And of course, we know that our law allows that I defend myself in such. I will also come to the court to prove that I deserve such payments. Now, it is only the court that has the powers, that has the constitutional authority to indict me or not. Mr. Magu cannot come on public TV to indict me. He must. And that reverts us back to the original statement of Mr. President. Now, he must and can only indict me in accordance to the rule of law, in respect to the supremacy of the law, of the rule of law. And by so doing, I must have gone through trial. Let's not forget that our constitution says, I remain innocent until proven guilty, found guilty by a competent law of the land, by a competent court of the land. So if he decides to exploit these channels and find me guilty, so be it. But if he doesn't, and the court acquits, just like we have seen top politicians in recent times who have been indicted and have been acquitted by the courts, you cannot go and incarcerate such people and say that they are corrupt on the same ground for which they have been acquitted in the courts. So these things are clear. I think the need for a reorientation of the importance and the powers of the rule of law should be enforced. People should begin to understand that they have rights, and the government should begin to understand that even in protection of people's rights, they must do so within the ambits of the law.
Okay, thank you very much, Jideofor Onuoha, Abuja-based legal practitioner, for coming on the conversation.